What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. So the Federal Reserve and the head of the Fed, Jerome Powell, just made a major announcement here today that is going to affect, well, pretty much everybody here in the United States. This is going to affect your money. This just affected the stock market, which affects people's pensions, people's 401ks, people's retirement money, people's IRAs. And this is also going to affect interest rates, people's credit card interest rates, people's mortgage interest rates, people's personal loan interest rates, people's car loans, car leases, and all sorts of things here. And the Fed is controlling all of this stuff. And this announcement here is very, very big and is kind of a turn of the tide announcement here. So I'm going to let you hear the Fed. I'll give you what this means here. And also, we got some big tariff announcements here also that I'll give you the details of, that is going to potentially affect prices for a lot of people as we continue to see more and more of this. I'll give you the details of that here in this video as well. So let's jump right in, and I'm going to let you see it and hear it here right now as we are live right now on the YouTube It's Jimmy Show. Let me know if you can see and hear me. Type yes in the chat. Let me know where you're tuning in from. You can let me know your city, state, or even your country, as we have people tuning in here from all around the globe. Don't forget to hit that like button for me here, and if you haven't yet, subscribe down below so you don't miss out on future videos, and click the bell icon so you get notifications when we go live. Help me reach 500,000 subscribers on YouTube, which is where you can watch our full videos. If you're watching me on another platform, make sure to subscribe on YouTube as well. And let's jump right in. Here we go. Take a listen here to the head of the Fed, Jerome Powell, with their announcement here today, and then I'll go over what it means. Take a listen here.
In my remarks today, I will first address the current economic situation and the near-term outlook for monetary policy. I will then turn to the results of our second public review of our monetary policy framework, as captured in the revised Statement on Longer-Run Goals and Monetary Policy Strategy that we released today. When I appeared at this podium 1 year ago, the economy was at an inflection point. Our policy rate had stood at 5.25% to 5.5% for more than a year. That restrictive policy stance was appropriate to help bring down inflation and to foster a sustainable balance between aggregate demand and supply. Inflation had moved much closer to our objective, and the labor market had cooled from its formerly overheated state. Upside risks to inflation had diminished, but the unemployment rate had increased by almost a full percentage point, a development that historically has not occurred outside of recessions. Over the subsequent 3 Federal Open Market Committee meetings, we recalibrated our policy stance, setting the stage for the labor market to remain in balance near maximum employment over the past year. This year, the economy has faced new challenges. Significantly higher tariffs across our trading partners are remaking the global trading system. Tighter immigration policy has led to an abrupt slowdown in labor force growth. Over the longer run, changes in tax, spending, and regulatory policies may also have important implications for economic growth and productivity. There is significant uncertainty about where all of these policies will eventually settle and what their lasting effects on the economy will be. Changes in trade and immigration policies are affecting both demand and supply. In this environment, distinguishing cyclical developments from trend or structural developments is difficult. This distinction is critical because monetary policy can work to stabilize cyclical fluctuations, but can do little to alter structural changes. The labor market is a case in point. The July employment report, released earlier this month, showed that payroll job growth slowed to an average pace of only 35,000 per month over the past 3 months, down from 168,000 per month during 2024. This slowdown is much larger than assessed just a month ago, as the earlier figures for May and June were revised down substantially. But it does not appear that the slowdown in job growth has opened up a large margin of slack in the labor market. So, putting the pieces together, what are the implications for monetary policy? In the near term, risks to inflation are tilted to the upside and risks to employment to the downside, a challenging situation. When our goals are in tension like this, our framework calls for us to balance both sides of our dual mandate. Our policy rate is now 100 basis points closer to neutral than it was a year ago, and the stability of the unemployment rate and other labor market measures allows us to proceed carefully as we consider changes to our policy stance. Nonetheless, with policy in restrictive territory, the baseline outlook and the shifting balance of risks may warrant adjusting our policy stance. Monetary policy is not on a preset course. FOMC members will make these decisions based solely on their assessment of the data and its implications for the economic outlook and the balance of risks. We will never deviate from that approach. So, turning then to my second topic. Our monetary policy framework is built on the unchanging foundation of our mandate from Congress to foster maximum employment and stable prices for the American people. We remain fully committed to fulfilling our statutory mandate, and the revisions to our framework will support that mission across a broad range of economic conditions. Our revised statement on longer-run goals and monetary policy strategy, which we refer to as our consensus statement to save time, describes how we pursue our dual mandate goals. It is designed to give the public a clear sense of how we think about monetary policy, and that understanding is important both for transparency and accountability, and for making monetary policy more effective. The changes we made in this review are a natural progression grounded in our ever-evolving understanding of our economy. We continue to build upon the initial consensus statement adopted in 2012 under Chairman Ben Bernanke's leadership. Today's revised statement is the outcome of the second public review of our framework, which we conduct at 5-year intervals. This year's review included 3 elements: Fed Listens events at reserve banks around the country, a flagship research conference, and policymaker discussions and deliberations supported by staff analysis at a series of FOMC meetings.
So you can see the headlines here. Stocks surge as Jerome Powell opens the door to a September interest rate cut, meaning that they're leaning towards lowering interest rates here very soon. And the stock market just hit another all-time high as investors and overall confidence and interest rate cuts are very high. This sent people's pensions, people's 401ks, people's retirement funds to all-time highs in the stock market, leading my mantra and the age-old mantras that if you just keep your money invested in the stock market over time, it does tend to go up. And this is what we have continued to see. And this is good news with interest rates that we will see an interest rate cut coming soon. In fact, the kind of the bet on the market is that it's near a 100% chance that it is coming in September. And this would lower interest rates for credit cards, mortgages, refinances, car loans, car leases, personal loans, and even government debt, which the government is spending almost $1 trillion a year in interest alone on government debt. So there is a whole heap of millions and millions of people that want to see lower interest rates because interest rates are still extremely high on, well, almost everything. And including credit card interest rates, which are still near all-time highs on credit card interest rates. We're seeing credit card interest rates north of 35% in some cases for credit card interest rates, which is wild, which is absolutely insane, which means over the course of 3 years, you're paying 100% interest on credit card interest in some cases, which is insane, absolutely insane. So a lot of people are looking forward to lower interest rates soon. The sooner, the better. The only downfall of lower interest rates will also mean lower interest rates for savings accounts, money market accounts and CDs, certificate of deposits. So you would see slightly lower, basically the opposite of that, the investor side of putting your money into money market accounts, cash accounts, okay? So you would see some slightly lower interest on stuff like that. But the stock market is booming, seeing yet another all-time high. I will keep you up to date as more updates come here on the channel. Meanwhile, the U.S. and the European Union spell out more tariffs. Tariffs for autos, cars, and pharmaceuticals, medicines, prescriptions, and more. The U.S. and the European Union announced their latest details of their trade framework for tariffs, which will inevitably raise costs on both sides for a lot of things. The two historical allies came to a trade agreement here recently. The new update sheds light on key sectors such as autos, cars, pharmaceuticals, and more. We get new details on big pharma and semiconductor tariffs as well after heated negotiations arrived on 15% blanket tariffs on EU exports under the deal. The EU also committed to purchase $750 billion worth of U.S. energy and invest at least an additional $600 billion in the U.S. However, there has been a lot of skepticism on, does the U.S. have extra energy that they should be exporting, as the U.S. is literally under its own energy crunch. We have, energy grids kind of failing here in the U.S. And, oil and gas, should we be exporting this? $750 billion being exported out of the U.S. You guys can let me know your guys' thoughts here in the comments section, because we need our own energy. We have our own energy problems here in all sorts of different ways. Let me know your thoughts on this here in the comment section. There will also be new tariffs on lumber, tech, and regulations, applying the higher of either the U.S. most favored nation tariff rate or a tariff rate of 15% comprised of the MFN tariff or reciprocal tariff on originating goods of the European Union, which will raise the price on either side eventually, including natural resources, cork, all aircraft parts, generic pharmaceuticals, and their ingredients and chemical precursors. Also including lumber, semiconductors, pharmaceuticals, according to a senior U.S. administration official. And the new statement also noted plans for the EU to substantially increase its procurement of U.S. military and defense equipment, even as Europe has committed to grow its own defense capabilities. Now, we do have some good news here that Canada dropped many of its retaliatory tariffs on the U.S. Canada announced today it was dropping most of its counter tariffs of 25% on U.S. goods. Tariffs on auto, steel, and aluminum, although will remain in place. The move comes as U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement is scheduled for a review in the next few months. President Donald Trump was very pleased with this announcement. These are tariffs that Canada announced tariffs in retaliation after the U.S. announced tariffs on Canada. I believe they're dropping some of these in hopes of a tariff agreement with the U.S. that the United States will drop and reduce some of the tariffs on Canada. Here's hoping lower tariffs for both sides. So I'll keep you up to date here with all of this and everything you need to know on a daily basis. So make sure to subscribe down below and click the bell icon so you get notifications. It's completely free to do so. And share this video so more people get to hear this information. Click here to see new stimulus checks just approved for millions of Americans, or click here to see NATO deploying thousands of troops. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next